Hello and welcome to Events Dear Boy, a new podcast for anyone involved in business events. If you're a conference producer, corporate event organiser or events agency, then we are here for you. We want to share the highs and the lows, the best practices and the horror stories. You can expect ideas and inspiration, maybe some laughs too.
And if you're a speaker at these events, then we're here for you too. We'll be talking about how you do it, what makes speakers nervous, and how it feels when it all goes well or terribly.
My name is Catherine McNamara and I'm the marketing lead at the talent agency Pomona Partners and someone who has organised many business events in my working life. Alongside me is Pomona Partners founder and veteran of 1,000 speaking gigs, Tom Cheesewright.
Each episode, we're going to be joined by a guest from the event space, either an organiser or a speaker. We'll ask them to share their experiences, both good and bad, and their tips for other people in their positions.
This week, we're joined by Caroline Moran, and we're delighted to have you on the show, Caroline, so welcome.
Thank you.
So just to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about your role?
Yeah, so I am a managing director at an agency called Clear. So we're a live events and creative communications agency. Was actually set up in 1985. I've not been there that long. I've been there a while, but not quite that long. And I actually started, it will be my 20th year at Clear in October this year. So a bit of a lifer, as we call ourselves in our office. So I started out as a salesperson for Clear, worked up to project executive, project manager, client services director, and now I'm managing director.
Wow. That is 20 years in the same organisation. As someone who's bounced around a lot in their career, that seems... Although, that said, I've sort of been doing my current day job for 12 years now, so I'm getting there. Tell us about the sorts of events that you work on. I'm guessing it's fairly diverse, but what sort of characterises the events that Clear puts together?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing why 20 years doesn't quite feel like 20 years because, the way we did events 20 years ago is completely different to how we do them now.
Sure, yeah.
And the joy of the events industry anyway is that no day is the same, no week's the same, and certainly no year's the same. So that's probably why you can get through to 20 years without really realising it. So we're very much a corporate events agency and we work predominantly, I would say, in the internal comms space. So we do a lot of internal sales conferences, team building, leadership events, that sort of thing. A few activations, but a lot of them around employee engagement and employee experience and things like that. We do work on some B2B and B2C stuff, but I'd probably say 70% is in the internal comms arena, which we love because you get to work with some amazing brands. But because it's internal, you're not quite as restricted on the brand guidelines and restrictions as you are if you're doing something external. So not that you can rip up the brand book, but you can certainly play around with it and have a little bit more fun with people and their brands because it's a closed and internal audience, which is part of what we absolutely love at Clear.
What are they? So when people come to you at the moment for those internal events, what are their challenges? Like, what are they trying to achieve from that event? Because I think that changes over the years as well, doesn't it?
And you see a lot of trends. I mean, obviously, we were coming out of the back of COVID 18 months ago and live events really started coming back to the fore again. And a lot of that was around sort of getting people back together, one team and all this sort of stuff. So it kind of does go in waves and trends, we kind of feel, depending. So we did a lot during COVID, which was all focused on health and well-being and mental health and that sort of stuff and showing your colleagues that they're supported. What we're finding now is it's kind of very much a back to growth message, getting people fired up and excited for the future. I think we work with a lot of big brands and FMCG and things like that, which are fast paced. And yeah, they need to get people. It's not easy, with a lot of challenges with Brexit and all this sort of stuff. So people are faced day to day with the challenges of their normal working life. So the events seem to be focused on sort of showing that the support's there. They've got the backing of the company, the investment's there. But really, it's up to them as the people to go out and push things forward and get people motivated, which is brilliant because you can sort of get a real energy in the room and you can really feel it. So yeah, it's all stuff that gets me very excited anyway, in a geeky way, probably.
So, just following on from what Tom had asked there, in terms of kind of a medium for kind of providing this content and kind of facilitating these engaging experiences, how has it changed over the last 10 years? I know COVID had a big impact, but what are some of the kind of the fundamental changes that have kind of crept in over the last kind of 5-10 years?
You know, tech's made a big difference. I think people are expecting to see.
Events, dear boy, events.
Yeah, exactly. That's an edit point right there.
That's because I've put my feet up.
So where were we? We were at. You'd been talking about the changing nature of events, about what's changed in the last sort of 5-10 years.
Yeah, no worries. Okie doke. Yeah, so what I was saying was we see more of a trend in the 10 years ago. It was very much you getting everyone together, and you're going to hear from the senior management, you're going to hear from the MD, and they're going to talk at you at the conference and tell you everything that needs to be done. The shift is far more around, no, we need to get people engaged and interacting and involved and part of that messaging. So, you know, one of the things we like to do is, rather than saying, look, let's tell everybody what the strategy is, you know, actually let's break it down, let's maybe do breakouts, let's let them discover and figure out it and then bring it together at the end, because then they feel part of it. So yeah, I mean, it's all very much around the sort of engagement piece rather than you know, just telling people what they need to do for the next year.
And what are the bits that you love doing the most out of?
I see, I'm terrible. I love all of it.
You must have a favourite bit though. You must have a favourite bit.
I love taking the brief and sort of hearing what the client's thoughts are, and then creating that into like a full vision of what the event can be, and turning that, we need to do this. I mean, the way we see it is every event pretty much is trying to solve some sort of problem. So the problem you're trying to solve is, are you trying to engage people? Are you trying to get them to sell more? Are you trying to get them back in the office? What's the thing we're trying to actually achieve? And then turning that into a story that takes people on a sort of whole day of an experience that really immerses them and gets them involved. So I love that whole creative side of what we do. I love seeing it all come together. You know, I think when you're working events, it's such a joyful part of marketing, because what you've been working on for 6, 9, 12 months, you get to feel in the room it come to life, and everybody buys into it, and everybody, you know, even if it's an awards dinner and you've just had a vision of how the flowers are going to look, and you get people who are coming and going, oh, it looks amazing, you get this feeling of, yeah, that's what we wanted to achieve and we've done it, which I don't think you get in all aspects of marketing. So I feel very lucky that that's something we get to share with people in a live experience. Sorry, I made some notes on this. So, and I love actually being on site, which I know a lot of people think I'm absolutely mental for. But, you know, I've had some of my best experiences in the events agency at 4 a.m. in the morning, loading a van, you know, with the team around you, and you're delirious because you've had no sleep. And all you know, you're thinking, I just want to go to bed, but actually, they're some of the most memorable moments. You know, you forget the days that you've been at your desk doing stuff or any of that. You don't forget those bits and those moments out on site. So to me, that's a real highlight for what we get to do.
I can totally appreciate that. One of my favourite university jobs was crewing for gigs. And you know, if it was a really late night gig and a big loadout afterwards, you know, occasionally we'd end up sort of, you know, playing football outside with a beer in our hands, and that moment, those moments of camaraderie after you've delivered something amazing, they're such highs.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, people look at me and go, so you were on site at 7 in the morning and your best bit was 4 a.m. in the morning waving the truck off. And I'm like, weirdly, yeah, I was exhausted. But yeah, we had such, you know, because you've got your team around you, and it's like you say, it's a real sense of achievement, and we've delivered something great together.
So you've probably touched on something that could have been the answer to the next question that we want to kind of delve into. What do you get off your desk as quickly as you can? What really puts you off and you don't like doing?
Now that you're MD, what do you delegate?
I'm not in a fortunate position where I get to delegate too much, which might be my personality and the way I work. I don't know. I'm not the best at admin. I mean, if I could get somebody that could come in and do all of my, you know, my expenses on time, make sure my MOT was on. I mean, my other half gets so frustrated with me because he's like, for somebody who's paid to organise, you're absolutely hopeless. Now, I know I'm hopeless at home and I'm hopeless at like all the admin and that sort of stuff. If I need to do it for an event, it's time to perfection and it'll happen, but I'll drive off on a, weekend in the lakes and he'll go, have you got the postcode? And I'm like, no, I'll find it on my phone. And he's like, how do you live your life like this? So all of that admin side of it, if I could have somebody that just came in and took all that away for me, that would be incredible. That's my worst bit.
He and my wife would have a lot to talk about, I think.
Can I throw my husband into the mix as well?
Yeah.
Similar personalities here.
So what event are you most proud of? What's the thing that you've put on and you've just been like, yeah, that was good?
In 20 years, there's a lot that you look back on and go, yeah, that was pretty awesome. I think probably we work on the Northwest Regional Construction Awards and we've worked with it, apart from 1 year, we've worked on it since 2007. So from 2009 onwards, we've done it every single year. But the 2007 one was probably the first time I was a project lead. And when it all came together, it's just this sense of that was just absolutely incredible. And, I did that. So I think it's something that I look back on as a real kind of, massive high for me in my career, even though it was so long ago.
Given your experience, what tips would you give to other event organisers, particularly people like early in their career? And we've spoken to a few through Pomona Partners, people who are in their first job or even in their first few months in the events industry. Like, what tips would you give them as they're coming into
everything. Don't you learn your craft by understanding every element of the event. So, if you get asked to do it, just do it. Just get on and do it and learn it and get stuck in. I think, attitude is pretty much everything in this job. Common sense and attitude take you a huge, huge way. In most industries, but especially in events, I think that's really important. I think enjoy it. It's fun. It's one day. It's not always that deep. Sometimes, you can overthink and get really stressed, but I think enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you're getting to be a part of something that's really special. For me, it's all about surrounding yourself with the right team. Get yourself people you can trust, people who are problem solvers, people who don't flap, people who just get stuff done, and people who you enjoy working with as well. I think they're, that's really, really important to have this great team around you, because you are only ever as good as you can't do everything. You're only ever as good as the people around you and what they're doing. So I think that's really important. I think just be decisive. Sometimes you do have to make calls quite quickly, and when you reflect back you think, I probably would have done that a different way, but actually you haven't got time. So just be decisive and be bold in your decision making and just carry it through. But I think if you're starting out in the industry, you can have a ball. I've had a brilliant 20 years. I've been all over the world. I've worked with celebrities. I've been to amazing venues, stayed in great hotels, ate great food. It's been hard work. It's stressful. Yes, you might have to work weekends and evenings, but I don't regret a second of it. I wouldn't change a second of it. So I feel dead lucky that I've had the privilege to do it.
I have to say, as a speaker, it's always I'm always sort of in awe of event organisers. I just have to turn up and entertain, basically, and you guys are the ones who just put bums on seats, which is the hard part, and just done all of the logistics around it. I'm always in awe of great event organisers.
So
sorry.
I was going to say but just kind of following on from that, what are kind of the key takeaways you'd give to other organisers? Like, what are the kind of the key insights, the top tips that you kind of impart?
I think it's about getting yourself with the right people and the right team. You can't do everything. You cannot do everything. You're in and it's live. You need to be around people who are reliable, people who you trust. And as I say, people who you enjoy working with. If you're away and you can be with people that you go for a pint with after a really long day and have a good laugh about stuff, then it makes it as much of a social thing as it does a work thing. So we think really that's absolutely key. Detail's so important. Obviously, the attention to detail is so important. You've got to get those fundamentals and those basics in place. but don't sweat on it, because like I said before, most people don't know what plan A was. So if something has to change and something has to flip and you have to readdress something, then it's okay, and you can always do something a bit later on that brings something back, but don't over sweat on everything, because otherwise you tie yourself up in knots and you'll never sleep. You don't get enough sleep as it is, so don't lose more sleep.
And finally, apart from turning up with socks on and sober, any tips for speakers?
Yeah, I mean, so the best experiences we've had with speakers is the ones that have put a bit of time in beforehand, to meet the client, have that 20-30 minute conversation, do a bit of homework, what's the rest of the event about, to actually weave in those messages. I think they're the ones that we've always had the best reaction from, because the feedback's been, everything we'd heard really made sense when it all came together at the end. I think some people have great stories and some people have these great, this is my keynote, and that's fantastic. But and it's great if you're doing a B2C event and you wanted that big name, amazing. But sometimes on the internal stuff we're doing, if it doesn't jar with what's being said during the day, you may as well have not bothered. So doing that little bit of homework and research in the lead up will get you repeat work. It will get you back for smaller stuff. It'll get you back for the field sales conference or the IT conference or whatever else, because people really buy into what you're saying. And I think, what's my other one I speak tip? Don't rush off. So that's one thing when you get these, and sometimes, if you can hang around for the coffee break, chat to a few people, take a few questions, again, that just, your feedback goes off the scale, because people feel like you've been actually genuinely interested to be there, you wanted to be there, and you felt part of the event. I know it's not always possible, times, trains, budgets, and whatever else is going on, but if you can say, I'll hang around for 15-20 minutes and chat to people, it really goes a massive way for your feedback.
And you know what? That's a really great place to wrap it up. Really, really interesting. And thank you so much, Caroline, for coming and speaking to us. And thank you too for listening and watching. We hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please leave a review, like and subscribe. And most importantly, share this podcast with your colleagues and peers, whether they're fellow speakers or event organisers. And we'll be back soon with another episode. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.